Hello, this is Winston Cunningham. It is February the 24th, 2025. And what is on my mind today is about missed opportunities. And in general, I think I've probably missed more opportunities than most people are aware of. And there's a variety of reasons for that. But recently I was invited to hear a new concept, and I was too busy, but I've thought about it, and I'm going to take advantage of it, and I'm not sure what it is. But I've been reluctant to listen to other people's idea of forward motion, and so I'm opening myself up to that. And I've looked for references in Dreams of the Soul, Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and also Matthew Interpreted, the Universal Language of Mind, which both indicate that I need to approach this with infancy. When Jesus said, "Come to me as little children," being open to the new ideas. A young child is just open, wants to absorb everything. So that's part of the infancy stage, and I've got developments in the process of each of the stage of infancy, adolescence, adulthood, and old age, which is wisdom. And I've got things working in each of those categories. It can become habitual thinking to think that since I've got some developments that are now in the wisdom stage, that all is in the wisdom stage, and so I have to, my experiences will continually correct that. Because when we are mistaken, we need an experience that prompts us to make the adjustment. And of course, we're all adjusters. So I'm in the process of doing this, and I was looking back and thinking about allowing this to germinate enough to talk about. I've been able to look back at various times during my life and say, "Oh, okay, I missed that, and I missed that too." And I would rationalize sometimes, well, I wasn't ready for it, or the conditions and circumstances were not right. But more often, my reasoning was a little off, because I would justify the holding back. And if you haven't heard my talks before, I'm diabetic, which comes from holding back. So I'm looking to take a different approach to that. So, and there's a lot I want to do, and it requires some action, and I've been a little bit slow on that. So I'm working with correcting that. I won't go through the long list of things that I've missed in the way of opportunities, and I'm probably missing a lot just every day. But see, the way I look at it is that being an individual, I don't need to be like anyone else, and so I've got some stubbornness, and that's part of what this is about, is that I want to do it my way. And so I many times will forego the help of someone else that could be beneficial, because of that stubbornness. So I'm looking a little closer at that. It's all fun, but sometimes it don't feel like it. I can remember, well, I'll just go ahead and tell you one time. I've written a lot of songs. And just in the songwriting community, the music business, I can point to a number of occasions where I missed an opportunity. I'll just tell you one. I was a waiter at while I was studying at School of Metaphysics, I was a waiter part-time at the Nashville City Club. And there was a lot of attorneys that came to lunch there. And one such fellow that I would talk to on a regular basis, he knew that I was writing songs, and he said, well, I might be able to get a song to George Jones for you. And I told him that, well, I didn't think I had anything for him. I just wasn't thinking clearly at the time. But actually, I did have a song that would have been perfect for him. But I wasn't connecting that at the time. So, because I had a certain idea of the way the things needed to go, and this didn't fit. But in watching the news one day, and George Jones had got into trouble, and this guy, this lawyer that I've been waiting on every day, was bailing him out of jail, picking him up in his new Cadillac. So this was hindsight is 2020. Yes, he could have got a song to George Jones. He was George Jones's attorney. So this was a missed opportunity. And I've probably had more of those than I care to recall. And I'm wondering how much of it comes from stubbornness and how much of it is just me needing more preparation. So here I am. I'm going back to infancy to start to figure this out. Because there are a lot of things I want to accomplish. And getting my songs recorded is just one of those. And I've got acquainted with a number of key people in the music industry, and still didn't get connected. And part of that was just didn't feel sufficiently prepared. And another part was the stubbornness, and there may be some more elements there too. So a meeting that I was invited to that I didn't actually decline because I was busy and I just didn't want to be bothered by it. But I've reconnected and agreed to go to another meeting because the fellow that's holding the meeting is somebody I have a lot of respect for. And so I don't want to prejudge what he has to offer, because that's one of the things that irritates me about other people is they prejudge me in a lot of ways. So I need to go back to infancy here and approach something without any preconceived notions. Those preconceived notions is something you don't see in a child, because a child just, I see them every day at the YMCA. They want to experience everything. Give it to me, give it to me. the openness of a child is the kind of thing that Jesus was talking about. Is if you really want to learn, then it needs to be approached as an infant. And he pointed that out in a variety of ways. If you go back and read all of the things that Jesus said about a child, it's very meaningful. And when, as Dan Conner keeps pointing out, when Jesus talked about something, reiterated it several times, maybe several ways, you can believe it's something that's really important. Because Jesus represents the part of us that knows, the knowing quality. He was not into belief only. Believing was necessary, but insufficient by itself. So I've got to step into infancy once again. And I'm 81. So, but it doesn't matter. I need to go from, no, that ain't quite right, to, well, let me see. Like a child. Let me see. I've got a good friend who is really good about figuring things out. There was something we were sitting talking one day about, and I didn't know how to do something on a computer, and then, well, he didn't know either, but he just got his laptop out and said, well, let me see. And he kept looking and looking, and he figured it out. So that's stepping into, that's using faith in his ability to find a solution. And that impressed me. And I keep reminding him of that when I see him. When he has some doubt about himself, I'll say, wait a minute, I saw you do this. And what you're needing to do now is the same thing, just in a little bit different way. So we talk a lot about these things. But anyway, I'm looking to take a different approach so that I can take advantage of opportunities that I've been missing. Because the concept that I learned at the School of Metaphysics is everything is available to me. And I know this, but an important step of once you know something is to practice it. And so I need to practice. And I say this to people all the time. Use what you know to make better decisions so you increase the ability to perceive and experience more wholeness. And I show this to people a lot. And I can remember something I heard at the School of Metaphysics. My teacher said she disagreed with this, but Jerry Rothmel pointed out in one of the lessons that you teach best what you most need to learn. So when I'm telling other people, teaching other people about this concept, I am also reiterating it to myself because I'm presenting it to them and I'm the one that needs it most. So this is something that our experiences have a wonderful way of reminding us what we're doing here, because we tend to forget or we tend to miss opportunities. So today I'm looking at missed opportunities and also looking at what Jesus said about come to me as little children. Now remember, me is something you identify in yourself after you've learned it through experience. You'll say, okay, that's me. That's what that means. You're identifying something. So come to me as little children. So approach each experience, and this is an experience that I'm approaching. Approach each experience with that same, I want to know, that a child does. I want to see everything. I want it all. So come to me as little children. Me is identifying parts of yourself through your experience. And grace means the same thing. Grace is the relief from experience by learning, by understanding it. Once you understand something, then there's not as much need to repeat it. So when something comes to me like missed opportunities, there's something I may have repeated before, but I need it again. And so when I need it again, everything I learned goes through four stages: infancy, adolescence, adulthood, old age, and wisdom. And so every time I learn something new, it will go through any of those stages. So here before me now is something that I need to find a refinement of this process within myself and use it, starting with infancy. Correction of missed opportunities needs to start with infancy. Isn't that something? Anyway, I didn't know I was going to mention infancy. It came out. Many times what a person needs to hear will come from their own mouth through experience. So experience is the key. That's why in Language of Mind, water represents experience. Water covers most of the earth. And we are about 70% water. I've heard different numbers on that, but I haven't checked it out myself. I haven't poured all the water out of myself and measured it. So I take their word for that. It makes sense. So experience, come to me as little children. That's where I need to be. 81 years old, and I'm in childhood again in this particular way. Thank you for listening.